All right, folks. We're going to move right on along here. Welcome to the Jimmy Dore Show, everybody. Keaton Weiss and Russell Dobular in for Jimmy through Monday. We've been talking quite a bit, of course, about the devastating fires in Los Angeles and the lack of government preparedness in the run-up to the fires and, of course, the response to the fires. An angry resident caught up with Gavin Newsom. Holy smokes, says Johnny Maga. LA woman runs up to confront Gavin Newsom about his failures, asks him why her daughter's school burned down and why the hydrants didn't have any water. He deflects every question and tells her his many calls to Biden aren't going through. Yes, that's correct. This is quite the piece of video here.
Got a second? Governor, I live here, Governor. That was my daughter's school, Governor. Please tell me what you're going to do. I'm not going to hurt him, I promise.
Literally.
Well, thanks for wearing a mask, but could you stand back a few more feet? I would appreciate that. You know, you're respecting the masking, but not the social distancing.
Governor, please tell me what you're going to do. I'm not going to hurt him, I promise.
I'm literally talking to the president right now.
I'm literally making a reservation at the French Laundry. Calling the president right now. Calling the president right now. I'm on it.
I'm ordering pizzas for the entire neighborhood. How do you like yours?
Yeah, how do you like yours? Vegan cheese, I assume. Is that the part of town we're in? Vegan cheese and what do they got? Cauliflower crust?
Governor, please tell me what you're going to do. I'm not going to hurt him, I promise.
I'm literally talking to the president right now to specifically answer the question of what we can do for you and your daughter.
Can I hear it? Can I hear your call? Because I don't believe it.
I'm sorry. There's literally, I've tried 5 times. That's why I'm walking around.
He's an old man. He doesn't know how to answer the phone.
Because it's not going through. So
Why?
I have to get cell service.
So let's
playing
get
the
it.
watermelon
Let's get it. I
slicing
want to be
game
here
on
when
the
you call the
Have you
president.
seen
I
the
appreciate it.
president
I'm doing
lately? Can you
Yeah,
imagine what it's like trying to get him to have a coherent conversation about a natural disaster?
Yeah.
That's the position
Why?
I'm in right now.
Get cell service.
So
There's
let's
no
get
cell
it.
service.
Let's get it. I want to be here when you call the president.
I appreciate it. I'm doing that right now. And it's to immediately get reimbursements, individual assistance, and to help you. I'm devastated for you. I'm so sorry, especially for your daughter. I have 4 kids losing the school.
Everyone who went to school there, they lost their homes. They lost 2 homes because they were living in one and building another. Governor, please tell me, what are you going to do with the president right now?
We're getting the resources to help rebuild. We're getting
Why
the
was there no
resources to deal
water
with
in the
this.
hydrants,
That's
Governor?
That's all literally.
Is it going to be different next time?
It has to be. Has to
Right.
be. Of course.
What are you going to do?
I'm doing
To
everything
fill the
I can.
hydrants. I would fill them up personally. You know that.
I literally have.
I would fill up the hydrants myself.
I understand.
But would you do that?
I would do whatever I can.
But you're not. I see do you know there's water dripping over there, Governor? There's water coming out there. You can use it.
I appreciate it. I'm going to make the call to address everything I can right now, including making sure people
I'd
are
like
safe.
to make sure you do.
guys.
Can
He needs
I
to
have
call
an
the president.
opportunity
He
to at
needs
least
to-
tell
he needs to
people
call
you're
the
doing what
president.
you're saying you're doing?
Thank you.
Could somebody have a contact? Can I have your contact
Yes,
information?
right there.
Love that. Yeah. I'm calling the president.
They
Can I
gave
talk
her-
to him? Well, they're not going through.
Yeah.
They're not going through.
They gave her his personal number. Yeah, he's got my contact right there.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. I'm sure they put her in touch. Look, I don't mean to say, I don't say this jokingly. I don't say this as a quip or anything like that. But I don't know when next time is going to be. I mean, this is an apocalyptic fire. I mean, I don't know what the rebuild is going to be after this. I mean, it looks. There are no words. It looks like there's no more. I mean, the entire neighborhood's just every building on every block.
How do you rebuild from that?
Yeah,
Like this is worse than Katrina. As you pointed out, Katrina, and because of a history of racism in the way that housing has traditionally been distributed in a lot of cities, the lower Ninth Ward, a very black area, got hit the hardest in Katrina because it was in the lowest lying, least protected area. This is a case with a fire. Fire doesn't respect any economic or class boundaries. There's no geographic element that's going to hold it back like that. So it's just ripping through everything. It's not, the damage and devastation is not localized in quite that way. So yeah, like are they going to spend hundreds of billions of dollars rebuilding all this? And frankly, you already had outflow migration from California. Now, I would imagine that is going to greatly accelerate because you're going to have a lot of people leave the state. And who's going to come in? Who's going to come in when this is what could happen? So I think you're right. Part of the reason they would not even rebuild is you're not going to have the pressure to rebuild. You're not going to have the population coming in really to rebuild for, I would imagine.
Yeah, I mean, I assume they will obviously rebuild these areas, but I don't see them being the same.
To some extent.
Yeah, not to the same.
Not to the same extent. Yeah, like, sure, they'll do something, but remember, developers have to want to come in and build, because from what I'm seeing, there's a lot of residential homes that were destroyed. Like, who are they rebuilding those homes for? And what it's going to do to housing values, particularly when, there's a whole other element of it we were covering yesterday. Who's going to insure these homes? Who's going to insure it? Is the federal government going to become the insurer for all of Los Angeles? Because you're going to have a hard time getting State Farm to insure anything there.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Absolutely. Individunity, that's a nice recap. I'm literally talking to the president. Can I listen? It's not going through. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Does he have T-Mobile? Said Mel, absolutely. Gavin Newsom's White House ambitions have gone up in flames. Yeah, we were talking about this on our show yesterday. Now, Russ has been very bearish on Newsom's presidential prospects anyway, even before these fires. But I do think this is really devastating for him. I think whatever ambitions he has moving forward are going to be checked by this, because this is not the kind of thing that's going to be out of people's minds in 4 years. Like I said, I don't think these neighborhoods are ever going to be what they were before these fires. I don't think they will build up back to what they were, which means that the legacy of this is permanent forever. I think that's my opinion. I know politically they're going to follow him at least 4 years.
Yeah, I think running for president as governor of California is like running for greatest chef in the country as the head chef for Jack in the Box. Like, there is no way that this man was ever going to win the presidency. Now, there's no point even trying. I'd be surprised if he tries. You never know with these egotistical narcissists, but why even bother? He'll just embarrass himself.
I do think he'll try. I think absent this, whatever you felt his prospects were in a general election, I think absent this, he would have been the favorite for the nomination. Because I think he's the most politically talented of anyone that the Democrats would throw up. Now I don't even know if he's the favorite for the nomination, because I don't know if the party leadership and their propaganda arms in the media, or even the rank and file Democrats at this point, who matter least to the party, of course, I don't know if they think he can win now, given this. Like, with this disaster on his hands in such recent memory, and I know it's 4 years from now, but like I said, I think this is going to stick with people forever. I don't see how you even win the nomination at this point, because I don't think you are seen as a viable general election candidate at this point. I just don't see it.
Yep.
Which, you just talk about the prospects of this party just going down the drain all at once between Biden and Kamala. Now Obama's got no cachet left because of his remarks about how the brothers aren't going. Just all of these people just tanked. The bottom just fell out of the entire party, which is a silver lining of sorts. Yeah, they absolutely did. They absolutely asked for it. All right, so the woman who approached Gavin Newsom mentioned the water shortage and how the fire hydrants had run out of water. Well, here's an article that just came out today, just this morning, dated January 10th, 8:39 a.m. Pacific time. Pacific Palisades Reservoir was offline and empty when firestorm exploded. This published in the Los Angeles Times this morning. A large reservoir in Pacific Palisades that is part of the Los Angeles water supply system was out of use when a ferocious wildfire destroyed thousands of homes and other structures nearby. Officials told the Times that the Santa Ynez Reservoir had been closed for repairs to its cover, leaving a 117 million gallon water storage complex empty in the heart of the Palisades. The revelation comes among growing questions about why firefighters ran out of water while battling the blaze. Numerous fire hydrants in higher elevation streets of the Palisades went dry, leaving firefighters struggling with low water pressure as they combated the flames. Department of Water and Power officials have said that demand for water during an unprecedented fire made it impossible to maintain any pressure to hydrants at high elevations. Had the reservoir been operable, it would have extended water pressure in the Palisades on Tuesday night, said former DWP General Manager Martin Adams, an expert on the city's water system, but only for a time. You still would have ended up with serious drops in pressure, said Adams in an interview Thursday. Would Santa Ynez Reservoir have helped? Yes, to some extent. Would it have saved the day? I don't think so. A DWP official acknowledged that the reservoir's absence likely contributed to some diminished pressure and dry hydrants in upper regions of the Palisades. However, a spokesperson for the utility said in a statement that DWP was still evaluating the effect of the reservoir being placed offline and that staffers were conducting root cause analysis. Quote, our primary focus is to provide water supply throughout the city, the DWP spokesperson said, adding, the system was never designed for a wildfire scenario that we are experiencing. It's unclear, when the reservoir first went offline. Adams said it had been out of service for a while due to a tear in the cover and that DWP's vast storage and supply infrastructure still provided water to residents without disruptions until this week. Water pressure in the Upper Palisades is sustained with 3 storage tanks which hold 1 million gallons each. The tanks, part of a network of more than 100 across the city, are located at successively higher elevations in the coastal hilly neighborhood, with water pumped up to the tanks, then flowing down by gravity to maintain pressure. By 3 a.m. Wednesday, all 3 tanks had gone dry. DWP Chief Executive Officer Janice Quinones said the tanks could not be refilled fast enough and that demand at lower elevations hampered the ability to pump water to tanks at higher elevations. In one case, DWT crews attempting to reroute water to refill a tank had to be evacuated, officials said. Quinones said 4 times the usual demand for water on the trunk line over a 15-hour period led to drops in water pressure. Had the Santa Ynez Reservoir been in use in that period, Adams estimated that demand might have been 3 times as high. So you're talking about a 25% increase or decrease in excess demand, we should say. Water in the reservoir would have fed the firefighting equipment and helped the pump stations push water to the storage tanks. But the reservoir, quote, wouldn't have lasted forever and would not have been a fix-all, Adams said. Eventually, you would have gotten to the same place, he added. Adams cautioned that he was basing his assertion on a rough estimate and that he had not calculated the specific impact. Furious residents have pointed to the lack of water pressure as one factor contributing to the destruction of 5,300 homes and buildings in L.A., Santa Monica, and Malibu. Civic leaders like LA City Council member Tracy Park and developer Rick Caruso have pointed to the issue as a sign of poor infrastructure upkeep. Okay, so that came out, like we said, in the Los Angeles Times this morning. And I think there's no question that had you had this reservoir functioning, you would have had less of a strain on the system, which obviously you would think would have meant you would have mitigated the damage to an extent. This is in keeping with what I researched for the first, couple days of this, really in preparation for Wednesday's show and for our show on our channel yesterday, which is that, there was obviously a failure of planning. There is obviously a failure to upkeep the proper sort of infrastructure. Like you need to have your reservoirs full and functioning during fire season, especially given this drought. Would that have, as the article said, saved the day? No, I don't think this is a situation like Katrina, where you could really argue that a portion of the city was sabotaged and neglected, which really accounted for all of the ruin that happened there. This is not quite that, to be fair, but we are seeing here that, look, if you are going to inhabit this part of the country with the second largest city in the country, if Los Angeles is to remain a place that, in an area that is vulnerable at this point to wildfires, as we've seen in the past few years, then yeah, you have a responsibility to be up on this shit more. When people talk about climate change as a culprit, climate change, whether that is or is not a culprit, is not really relevant to the governor of the state or to the mayor of the city, because they are not in a position, and I might argue no one is in a position at this point to change whatever course that's on. But certainly not the mayor of Los Angeles, not even the governor of California. What you are in charge of is a very large city in a very rich state, and you can do a better job of protecting people from fires, given, let's say that there is obviously, let's just take it at face value. Okay, climate change is to blame. If you believe that, I would even grant you that for purposes of this argument. I wouldn't necessarily grant you that big picture, because as Russell said, it's sort of a cyclical thing in this part of the country. But let's say I grant you that. Okay, if you believe that, and you are a good Democrat, science-believing Los Angeles mayor and a good Democrat, science-believing governor, then shouldn't you be better prepared? Why is the fire department budget cut $18 million? If you're so hip to the dangers that climate change poses to your city and or your state, like, you have to at this point go into defense mode and protect the people from this as best you can.
Yeah. I was talking when we covered it over the last couple of days about the tremendous water projects that they did to even make California as we know it possible, to allow all of this farming in that region, to allow these large populations in that region, required enormous engineering projects to bring enough water to do that. Now, in many ways, that was misguided because, again, 20th century was Goldilocks period in that region where the climate was unusually wet and conducive to human population. And now in many ways it's reverting to the mean. But beyond that, we're not the country that did that anymore. We're just not the country that built the Hoover Dam. We just don't have it together. We don't have, I gave a speech at Jose's event about Abasaya, about a sense of common purpose. It's a phrase in Arabic for a society having kind of sense of common identity and common objective. We just don't have that anymore. The society has just been hollowed out and eaten alive, I would argue, by a wholesale hijacking of the public good by oligarchy and a funneling of tax money to an increasingly rarefied tiny slice of the population, leaving very little left and leaving a damaged and broken society, leaving a people who no longer have Abasaya, who no longer have common purpose, unity of purpose, vision. I went to the Museum of, I think it's called Science and Industry in Chicago. Jimmy would know. And you look at the early space program portion, and it's all government. And then you get to the later part, it's SpaceX. It's everything has been privatized, and private industry very often does not have enough of a profit motive to do what government is supposed to do. Like, to really make LA habitable, and I have questions about whether you could make it habitable really long term for large populations. But the only way you could possibly do that would be with enormous planning and enormous engineering projects on a scale that we have not undertaken in decades. I don't think we're capable of doing things like that as a society anymore.
Well, not given the capture of the government by private interests, right?
And
like
that's
you
why.
could have a
Yes.
New Deal for California if you could harness the political will, but you can't. You can't. And as it is, obviously, I mean, California is very, very difficult to live in for anyone who's not wealthy because taxes are high. Obviously, gasoline is very, very expensive. Like, you're kind of getting the worst of both worlds in California, right? Because you do get squeezed by both the government and the private sector there.
Right.
And this is
Right.
the result, right? You would think for a state as heavily taxed and as heavily burdened by both the government and the sort of private market, as we know is the case there, because everything is a fortune there. You'd think you get a little bit better deal than this,
Sure.
right? A little bit better
Sure.
deal than this. Like, I'm not saying there was a magic bullet or a cure all here. Like, you had record winds and you had a drought. That means you're gonna have fires. But they could have done better than this. Like, it's just absurd to say that they could have done better than this. And now you have Gavin Newsom telling Biden how we have to stop people from spreading misinformation about how we're not doing a good enough job. It's like, listen, man, this is not Katrina in the sense that it was entirely preventable. But for what people in that state pay to the government, for the way they live, for the deal they're promised, yeah, this was not a return on investment that they were looking for. The fucking mayor tweets out about record wind warnings and then leaves the city. Not leaves the city for Vegas, on the other side of the world. Yeah, no, that like I said, this is why I said this is going to destroy them. Newsom and Bass. I don't think Bass had any larger ambitions because she was already in Congress. She left to be a mayor. Who knows? But yeah, Newsom. It's just absolutely devastating.
Yes, I agree that they could have done better than this. And yes, California, they pay huge taxes. I would also argue that when you get a system this corrupt, this is the leadership that you get. What? You think you bring in a bunch of these fucking tech bros? They're going to put the public interest first? That all of a sudden everything's going to be very well managed?
No, it's very much garbage in, garbage out. Hey, where did Kamala Harris come from? There's an answer. Where does Nancy Pelosi come from? Dianne Feinstein come from?
Yeah.
All the worst people come from Cal. Look at
Ronald Reagan.
Ronald Reagan. Yeah, look at what that political system produces, and it's not unique to California. I'm not trying to beat up on California. You know what I would argue is an equally shitty state in terms of the political figures that rise out of it. Mine, New York, right? Where you
Criminals.
have right, exactly. Where you have large concentrations of capital in the hands of essentially like just rich sexual deviants, right? Who are liberal in the sense that that's really what they are. I mean that's what New York liberals are, and that's what California. Like, they're Republican sexual deviants with a lot of money. That's basically what they are.
That's that's it. That's the Annie Hall line. That the rest of the country thinks we're Jewish, communist, homosexuals. God, I think we're that, and I live here.
Yeah, that's essentially what they are. What you're basically dealing with is concentrated capital in the hands of a sort of amoral, oligarchic upper class of society that essentially picks the leaders. Right. And, in the case of California, I mean, it's a big ladder. In New York, it's a big ladder too. And who ascends to the top? The worst. The worst. Chuck Schumer, Andrew Cuomo. I mean, these are the worst of the worst. These are the scummiest of the scummiest. Sure. And so it's not a California thing. It's a money thing. It's a neoliberalism thing. That's really what it is. And that's why You won't. I mean, according to Russell, and I can't argue with you at this moment. It is really difficult to imagine the kind of public works project it would take to insulate a place like Los Angeles from future disasters. And that is an investment that you could make as a government if you could harness the will amongst the population. It's difficult to see where to even start.
You would have to drain out. This is where I say, yeah, you've got poor leadership. But it doesn't matter how much you're paying in taxes. Yeah, they pay enormous amounts of taxes in California. When the system is so corrupt that half of that money is going to disappear into graft, vice, kickbacks, sweetheart deals. That's what I mean when I say we're not that society anymore. Like, yeah, you can pay all the taxes you want. When the system is that defined by corruption and oligarchy, it's not, I mean, this is, and it's not a Democrat thing. This is the state that produced really the father of modern neoliberalism, Ronald Reagan. Like, you're not suddenly, what the privatized the sidewalks guys are going to fix this? You're muted.
Oh, sorry. No, I agree. I agree. All right, so that's a wrap on that segment. We'll take some super chats here. We got some Rumble rants, don't we? Don't we have a couple of them here? Oh, nope, I'm up to date on those. Sorry, I thought I had some come in. All right, well, we got one more segment on the night, right? What are we at, Andrew? I think we're already at 10, but we'll do one more since this is a good one anyway. This is sort of a capper. But I think, yeah, just let us know. Okay, we're at 10. All right, we'll do 11. We'll do one more. We'll do an encore. We'll go the extra mile. How about that? All right, everybody. Welcome to the Jimmy Dore Show. Keaton Weiss here with Russell Dobular filling in for Jimmy through Monday. We've been talking about Gavin Newsom and the state response to the California wildfires. Karen Bass, mayor of the city, was not around for the start of the fires. She warned the public from halfway around the world in advance and then came back to face the media, kind of. She ended up talking to them eventually, but not here. This looks like this is at the airport here. Just in on January 8th, L.A. Mayor Karen Bass freezes up while getting absolutely skewered by a reporter for her horrible policies. Let's take a look at this. She didn't have much to say to this guy.
An apology for being absent while their homes were burning. Do you regret cutting the fire department budget by millions of dollars, Madam Mayor?
Yeah, this is the best.
Have you nothing to say today?
So she's standing by a door. I'm assuming she's waiting for them to open that door.
Today? Elon Musk says that you're utterly incompetent. Are you considering your position? Madam Mayor, have you absolutely nothing to say to the citizens today who are dealing with this disaster?
To be fair, traditionally in Ghana swearing-in ceremonies,
No
they all
apologies
chew
for
on
that.
ibogaine root.
Do you think you should have been visiting Ghana while this was unfolding back home?
See, now he's pointing her to the other door. He's like, oh, they're not opening this one. Oh, great. Thought I was rid of this guy. Now I have to go this way. She was hoping to get out through that door. But then that guy didn't let her out. He's like, no, you got to go that way.
Madam Mayor, let me ask you just again, have you anything to say to the citizens today as you return?
Still not open?
Madam Mayor, just a few words for the citizens today as you return to deal with the catastrophe.
There you go. Now she finally made it. All right. Well, she was on her way back into town, and when she did a news conference, it really didn't go much better than that. So here she is advising people where they can go to get more information and help.
If you need help, emergency information, resources, and shelter is available. All of this can be found at URL. Los Angeles, together is how we will get through this. Through the heroism of our firefighters, the vigilance.
And heroism.
How did she? Too. Oh, I mean, I know there are parts of the country where you could literally run a stuffed animal as a Democrat and it'll win. But Jesus, what a non-entity this woman is.
I mean, we just see it over and over again. You know, I mean, I forget who said this, but, you know, it is so true. We think of like political figures as having to be exceptional, right? To ascend to a position of power and prestige, mayor of such a major city or governor of a state or president of the United States. And, you know, it's really not the case. Like, actually, politicians are a pretty mediocre crop of people because don't forget, yeah, as politicians go, mayor of Los Angeles is a very prestigious position.
Sure.
But people who have higher aspirations often don't go into politics for that reason. Right? like the kind of person who goes into politics is just generally a more mediocre person than like a genius author, right? Like, who are the best authors that ever lived? Mark Twain, that's a genius. Would Mark Twain run for mayor? No.
Right. Because they wouldn't want to deal with what comes with it.
Well, it's just a waste of brilliance, right? It's a waste of transcendence.
Well, yeah, you don't want to go glad hand and kiss asses. And today, I mean, the corruption is at a level where what kind of decent person would want to do it?
Exactly. It attracts mediocrity. Garbage in, garbage out.
Right now, if you need help, emergency information, resources, and shelter is available. All of this can be found at URL. Los Angeles together is how we will get
she
through
says
this.
It with a lot of
through the heroism of our firefighters, the vigilance.
Yeah, URL.
Yeah. No, you know, for a long time, a lot of people told me I should run for office, and I've always said, you know, man, I've done too much stuff that would come back to bite me, even if I wanted to. I watch this. I'm like, yeah, I could definitely be the mayor of LA. If she could win, I could win.
All right, well, let's go up the ladder a little bit further. So we've already done a couple segments on Gavin Newsom this evening, but let's see what Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have to say about this.
President, I know you're directly affected, so you fire away. No pun intended.
Indeed. Thank you, Mr. President.
You really, I mean, when Trump said he hates her, you could see she hates him. You could see how pissed she is at him. Yes. Look at her body language towards him.
Madam Vice President, I know you're directly affected, so you fire away. No pun intended.
Indeed.
That look that she gives him. That look that she gives him after he says fire away.
You fire away. No pun intended.
Indeed.
You fire away. Now look,
when will the final dignity arrive? When?
You take it from here. You fire away. Now look, I know I'm going to take a lot of heat for talking like this. So maybe you should start. I know maybe you should take over, lest I burn my reputation to the ground. So you fire
Kamala,
away.
When you start speaking, you really burn it up.
Really burn it up. She's very capable. She can handle this. I'm not just blowing smoke here. She's who you want to take this conversation on.
Madam Vice President,
fire away.
I know you're directly affected, so you fire away.
Fire away.
No pun intended.
Indeed. Thank you, Mr. President.
Kamala's like an inferno of competence.
Yes. She's boiling over with confidence. Yes. So that's leadership. That's leadership. What a shit show. What an absolute shit show.
Yeah. No, I mean, ultimately, when you have a government that's this corrupt, you're not going to produce leaders any better than this. I mean, ultimately, they are just, the patches on the NASCAR coat. They're not really doing anything.
Yep. Yes, and obviously, we'll have more to say about this all on Monday. There's going to be there's probably 10 stories that broke between when we went on and now on this story. Every time I check my phone, I see something else, some other crazy thing. Right before we went on air, I saw Gavin Newsom in a Zoom call on the Oval Office telling Biden, we really got to control the misinformation around this because it's doing a number. He knows. Listen, this guy, you look at a guy like Newsom, when you take a look at him, this guy was born to run for high office. I mean, this guy's been thinking he's going to be the president for the last 20 years. He's had his sights set on that. And he knows he's got to do it next time. That's his moment. And he knows this is going to ruin him. And so, of course, he's going to go into damage control mode. Of course, he's going to be begging Joe Biden, please, please, please stop people from saying there should have been more water. Mm-hmm. Right? I mean, you could sense the panic.
Of all the times for them to fire the fact checkers at Facebook.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And there's no fact checkers at and there's no fact checkers at Facebook anymore. Wow, what an avalanche. What an avalanche. One thing after the other. All right. Is that everything? I believe that is everything. I will check the machine one more time here. Let's see. We got any more chats? Nope. That's everything. All right. Well, folks, thank you very much for this week. It has been quite the week. Just more stuff than we could really keep up with, to be honest. But we did our very best for you. So we hope we got it okay for you guys. Thank you to everybody here. Thanks to the crew for a great week. Be safe, everybody, at the Jimmy Dore Show. Jimmy, Steph, Malcolm, Andrew's in L.A. Andrew's in Vegas, pardon me.
He's in Vegas.
But if Chris is in L.A., everybody who's in L.A., be safe. You're in our thoughts, and we thank you for entrusting us with the show this week. We'll be back Monday, January 13th, 6 p.m. Eastern,
with our
3 p.m.
special screening
Pacific.
of Behind the Green Door.
Yeah, there you go.
That'll be on Rumble.
Right, exactly. A Rumble exclusive that Monday. We'll see you then. We got anything else,
Special
Russell?
guest Norman Finkelstein.
Yes, that's right. Running commentary.
All right. Thank you very
Misha,
much.
thank you, Misha. Hopefully, Misha, your power is back on. You've been texting us here, so it looks like your power is back. So hopefully you are all set there. Like I said, everybody be safe and be well. That's my signature sign off on our show, but I'll say it here to you guys, especially to the LA crew. So thanks everybody very much. We'll see you Monday. Have a great night.
Courage.
60-year-old man, 40, they like to say 25, 22, all these men, they like to say. This is an extremely superficial and traumatized woman. She just want quality meat clashes. We ain't even gonna be around this bush. She look like I say superficial because y'all call it Lego hair. Plus she got Botox all in her face. She must like they got some tummy BBL going on. This is superficial thing. No, imagine. Friend, 25-year-old babe, and her son stops over just to say hi, Mom, and drops something off. And the guy there, what's wrong with that? He's like, something ain't that, my mom? Said the 3, 4 years your junior dating your mama. Y'all don't understand. Men recognize this. So that 25-year-old gonna look at this 27-year-old son and be like, dang, dog, this is unfair. Y'all don't understand what y'all be doing to y'all sons acting like, look at that, like, 7-year-old son got work on his friend. Like, what's that daddy younger than you? No, 50 years he gonna get messed with. Y'all don't understand. Well, that's why he did this fight for his own, to protect his own mother and sanity. Like you said, selfish activity. She don't care about consequences of her son. Consequences of your action.